Okay, I am so sorry because my phone rang, and little do I know that when you are recording for YouTube and your phone rings, then your recording stops. So, I've just thought Hermione. What about her? Said Ron. She doesn't know about the troll. Ron bit his lip. All right, but he snapped, but Percy better not see us. Ducking down, they joined the Hufflepuffs going the other way and slipped down a deserted corridor and hurried off towards the girls' toilets. They had just turned the corner when they heard quick footsteps behind them. Percy, hissed Ron, pulling Harry behind a large stone griffin. Peering out, however, they saw it was not Percy, but Snape. He crossed the corridor and disappeared from view. What is he doing? Harry whispered. Why isn't he down in the dungeons with the rest of the teachers? Search me. Quietly as possible, they crept along the next corridor after Snape's fading footsteps. He's headed for the 3rd floor, Harry said, but Ron held up his hand. Can you smell something? Harry sniffed, and a foul stench reached his nostrils. A mixture of old socks and the kind of public toilet that no one ever seems to clean. And then they heard it, a low grunting and the shuffling of footfalls of giant feet. Ron pointed at the end of the passage. To the left, something huge was moving towards them. They sank into the shadows and watched it as it emerged into a patch of moonlight. It was a horrible sight. 12 feet tall. Its skin was dull granite gray, its great lumpy body like a boulder with a small bald head perched on top like a coconut. It had short legs as thick as tree trunks with flat horny feet. The smell coming from it was incredible. It was holding a huge wooden club which it dragged along the floor because its arms were so long. The troll stopped next to a doorway and peered inside. It waggled its long ears, making up its tiny mind, and then slouched to go in the room. The key's in the lock, Harry muttered. We could lock it in. Look, here it is. It's actually kind of cute if you ask me. I mean, I wouldn't want to meet up with it, but it's kind of cute looking, I think. Good idea, said Ron nervously. They edged towards the open door, their mouths dry, praying the troll wasn't about to come out of the door. With one great leap, Harry managed to grab the key, slam the door shut, and lock it. Yes! Flushed with their victory, they started to run back up the passage, but as they reached the corner, they heard something that made their hearts stop. A high, petrified scream, and it was coming from the chamber they'd just locked up. Oh no, said Ron, pale as the Bloody Baron. It's the girls' toilet, Harry gasped. Hermione, they said together. This was the last thing they wanted to do, but what choice did they have? Wheeling around, they sprinted back to the door and turned to the key, fumbling in their panic. Harry pulled the door open and they ran inside. Hermione Granger was shrinking against the wall opposite, looking as if she was about to faint. The troll was advancing toward her, knocking sinks off the walls as it went. Confuse it, Harry said desperately to Ron as he seized the tap and threw it as hard as he could against the wall. The troll stopped a few feet from Hermione. It lumbered about, blinking stupidly to see what had made the noise. Its mean little eyes saw Harry. It hesitated, then made for him, instead lifting its club up as it went. Yo, pea-brain! Yelled Ron from the other side of the chamber, and he threw a metal pipe at it. The troll didn't even seem to notice the pipe hitting its shoulder, but he heard the yell and paused again, turning its ugly snout towards Ron instead and giving Harry time to run around it. Come on, run, Harry yelled at Hermione, trying to pull her towards the door. But she couldn't move. She was still flat against the wall, her mouth open with terror. The shouting and the echoes seemed to be driving the troll berserk. It roared again, startled towards Ron, who was nearest, but it had no way to escape. And then Harry did something that was both brave and very stupid. He took a great running jump and managed to fasten his arms around the troll's neck. And from behind, the troll couldn't feel Harry hanging there, but even a troll will notice when you stick a long bit of wood up its nose. And Harry's wand had still been in his hand when he jumped, and it had gone straight up the troll's nostrils. Howling with pain, the troll twisted and flailed its club, with Harry clinging on for dear life. Any second, the troll was going to rip him off or catch him with a terrible blow of his club. Hermione sunk to the floor in fright. Ron pulled out his own wand, not knowing what he was going to do. He heard himself cry the first spell that came into his head. Wingardium Leviosa! The club flew suddenly out of the troll's hand, rose higher into the air, turned slowly over, and then dropped with a sickening crack on its owner's head. The troll swayed on the spot and then fell flat on its face with a thud that made the whole room tremble. Oh, see, he doesn't look so cute here. Can y'all see him? Look, he does not look like a cute guy there. Not someone I'd like to visit there. You know, I like to pet all things, so, but not him, I don't think. Harry got to his feet. He was shaking and out of breath, and Ron was standing there with his wand still raised, staring at what he'd done. It was Hermione who spoke first. "Is it dead?" "I don't think so," said Harry. "I think it's just been knocked out." He bent down and pulled his wand out of the troll's nose. It was covered with what looked like gray, lumpy glue. "Ugh, troll bookies." He wiped He wiped it on the troll's trousers. Suddenly, a slamming and loud footsteps made the three of them look up. They hadn't realized what a racket they'd been making. Of course, someone downstairs must have heard the crashes and the troll's roars. A moment later, Professor McGonagall had come bursting into the room, followed closely by Snape, with Quirrell bringing up the rear. Quirrell took one look at the troll, let out a faint whimper, and then quickly had to sit down on a toilet, clutching his heart. Again, defense against the dark arts teacher. Snape bent over the troll. Professor McGonagall was looking at Ron and Harry had never seen her look so angry. Her lips were white. Hopes of winning 50 points for Gryffindor quickly faded from Harry's mind. "What on earth were you thinking of?" said Professor McGonagall with cold fury in her voice. Harry looked at Ron, who was still standing with his wand in the air. "You were lucky you weren't killed. Why aren't you in your dormitory?" Snape gave Harry a swift, piercing look. Harry looked at the floor. He wished Ron would put his wand down. Then a small voice came out of the shadows. "Please, Professor McGonagall, they were looking for me." "Miss Granger?" "I went looking for the troll because I thought I could deal with it on my own. You know, because I've read all about them." Ron dropped his wand. Hermione Granger telling a downright lie to a teacher. "If they hadn't found me, I'd be dead now. Harry stuck the wand up its nose and Ron knocked it out with its own club, and they didn't have time to come and fetch anyone. It was about to finish me off when they arrived." Okay, and then we can look at this tomorrow. This is like all the different kinds of trolls. See, because you've got your guide to trolls. You've got a forest troll. See, that's what he looks like. And then this is a mountain troll right here. And then, oh my gosh, look at this. Troll's brain. Look how tiny it is. That's a teeny tiny brain. And so there you go. Oh my gosh. Okay. Harry and Ron thought this, tried to look as though this story wasn't new to them. "Well, in that case," said Professor McGonagall, "Miss Granger, you foolish girl, how could you think of tackling a mountain troll on your own?" Hermione hung her head. Harry was speechless. Hermione was the last person to do anything against the rules. And here she was, pretending she had to get them out of trouble. It was as if Snape had started handing out sweets. "Miss Granger, 5 points will be taken from Gryffindor. For this, I am very disappointed in you. If you're not hurt at all, you'd better go off to Gryffindor Tower. Students are finishing the feast in their houses." Hermione left. Professor McGonagall turned to Harry and Ron. "Well, I will say you were lucky, but not many first years could have taken on a full-grown mountain troll. You each win Gryffindor 5 points. Professor Dumbledore will be informed of this. You may go." They hurried out of the chamber and didn't speak until they had climbed 2 floors up, and what a relief it was to be away from the smell of the troll, quite apart from anything else. "It should have been more like 10 points, Ron grumbled. 5, you mean, once she's taken off Hermione's. "Good of her to get us out of trouble like that," Ron admitted. "Mind you, I mean, we did save her. She might not have needed saving if we hadn't locked her in the thing locked the thing with her in the first place." They had reached the portrait of the fat lady. "Pig snout," they said, and entered. The common room was packed and noisy. Everyone was eating food that had been set up. Hermione, however, stood alone in the door, waiting for them. There was a very embarrassed pause. Then, none of them looking at each other, all said thanks and hurried off to get their plates. But from that moment on, Hermione Granger became their friend. There are some things you just can't share without ending up liking each other, and knocking out a 12-foot mountain troll is one of them. So, chapter 11 we'll do tomorrow. And it's Quidditch. So, all right. I love you guys. Have a great afternoon, and I will record tomorrow since I skipped 2 days. So I'll do tomorrow the next day, and I won't be a stinky tomorrow, I hope. All right. Bye, guys.